What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to talk about something that nobody talks about, and it's about mental health, but it's a subject that people are embarrassed about talking about it. When you approach me, there's a lot of scars on my arm that tells a story, and I'm going to tell you guys that story. And I used to do self-harm. Saying that out loud for the first time. And the scars on my arm, when people they see it, they often ask me, like, what is that on your arm? You can't just sit there and be like, okay, so I used to do self-harm. I couldn't cope with my emotions. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. So I took it out on myself. That's how, as I get older, that's how I see it now. Because when I started doing self-harm at the age of 14, I'm in my 30s now. You know what I'm saying? And I recently just stopped for like about a year, going on a year and a half. So it's a progress. I'm a work in progress. And when people they ask me, I just get so ashamed because it feels like it's something that you don't want the world to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we suffer in silence. Like, we literally suffer in silence. We're not going to share emotions or whatever to other people, because you never know who you could vent to. You know what I'm saying? And as a person who suffers from depression, anxiety, NSSI, bipolar, I have my issues. I really do. And when I was young, I didn't know how to cope with my emotions. I'm still learning how to cope with my emotions right now, And every day I find new ways to cope with it. If I'm having a bad day, if I'm feeling depressed or this and that, I just find a way to cope with it. And one way I really cope with it is to make TikTok videos. That is just, maybe that's weird or whatever. I don't know. But, I try to do dance videos and just trying to snap myself out of that funk, that depression funk, you know what I'm saying? Or that suicidal funk, you know what I'm saying? And that's my baby boy. And my dog saved my life. That's another different story to tell you guys. But, like, I have so many cuts on my arm. I remember one time I was doing self-harm to myself, and my brother walked in on me. My brother was really young. If you ask him that's for he'll tell you. And it's crazy because we used to live in an apartment. So the first time I remember I hurt myself was because I've been bullied when I was younger, and then I didn't know how to cope with that. I didn't know how to deal with that emotion. I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't have the skill to cope with it. You know what I'm saying? And being in an Asian family, we think that we don't have mental health problems, when in reality, it doesn't matter what nationality you are. Mental health is a subject that every family doesn't really talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It's a subject that nobody really wants to talk about it. So, the first time I did that to myself, I didn't even use a blade or a knife or whatever. I just broke and have a CD player, a CD, and in the sharp corner, I just started cutting. And, when I used to do that, I felt relieved. I wasn't doing it for attention. A lot of people say that, oh, you hurt yourself because you want attention. No, I didn't want the attention. I didn't care about the attention. I just had to figure out how I wanted to take this emotion out, how I wanted to find a way to cope with it, to deal with it. And doing self-harm was a way to do that. And when I was young, I didn't know that. I didn't. How am I supposed to know that? You know what I'm saying? So, as I get older, I've been in and out of the mental hospital when I was younger. I ain't gonna lie. That's another video for another subject. But yeah, self-harm, I stopped. I recently stopped, like I said, and I'm gonna see how long I could continue this journey. And it's really, really, really hard. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's super duper hard. Like, when I'm feel overwhelmed, I want to go back to my old ways. You know what I'm saying? People choose different things to cope with their problems. You know, I've done my route. I got stories to tell. But yeah, I just want to share this part of my life out there. And I am a work in progress. I'm going to, when it gets 2 years, because the last time I did self harm, I wrote it down, so I know exactly when it gets to the second to 2 years. I didn't. Once we get to 2 year mark, we're gonna make another video about it, and yeah, and how I'm coping with it: journaling, designing, making TikTok videos, streaming, making my mind busy, keeping my mind occupied from doing that. And actually, there's a poem I wrote called "The Knife." I want to share that poem eventually.